Welcome to the Work Camping with Why Not Wonder podcast. Today we're here with Calvin and Gina from AndrewsRVAdventures, and I am personally really excited to have you guys on because I've been following you on social media, and I absolutely love everything about you guys. I love that you are work camping. I love that you're living your dreams. I love who you're working for, and I love that you walk with the Lord. It's just wonderful and the natural health stuff. We're very much the same on so many things, and I love it. So could you just start by telling us your story?
Well, I'll take the lead on that just because I love the start of our story. We met each other on Christian Mingle. I think it was 2015, and I pursued and pursued, and finally, I don't know, after a couple of months, one of her friends talked her into giving me her phone number, and we spoke, I think, for the first time on Christmas Eve 2015. She was in Louisiana visiting family, and I was living in Wichita. She was also still hesitant that she meets this guy on Christian Mingle, knows nothing about him other than what I put on a profile. And so I understand her hesitancy, but she gives me her home address as her folks, her parents' house. So I'm sending correspondence there. And one day, her dad mistakenly opened one of my letters of mail, and I still poke fun at him 8 years after the fact, and I just think she was very wise in being cautious with who she might meet, and on the internet especially. And so um, that's the start that I like to emphasize.
Yes, and in the beginning, we lived. He was in Kansas, I was in Oklahoma, so we talked on the phone all the time, and but quickly found out that we both had recovery in our background. Specifically with Celebrate Recovery, it's a Bible based recovery program. Right. Anyway, we both had a bunch of junk in our past and with our previous marriages that we didn't want to repeat that or bring that person into a new relationship. So that was a blessing that we both had been through those programs prior to meeting each other.
In fact, our first dates was me traveling to Oklahoma, and we would go to a CR meeting on a Sunday or a Saturday night, and just so thankful that we started out in our relationship realizing that, I'm at least half the problem, and so I'm going to take care of my half of the street, and so I really respect Gina on that merit. I say this sometimes. She knows her strengths and weaknesses very well, and she holds herself to a high standard that I appreciate and respect. And so, yeah.
I was just going to say, I just love you guys. I love how intentional you are. It's so cool.
Thank you. And I'm wiping my eyes, just getting teary eyed. So to fast forward, yes, we just celebrated 8 years married. We have a blended family. All of our children are grown, and almost all will be married by the end of the year. And so that's exciting and a blessing. But last summer, I believe it was, we talked about Calvin retiring from teaching. And our background, as you said, has been in natural health, him teaching. I've been in real estate. Anyway, we decided to downsize, sell everything, and buy a fifth wheel and travel. And like I said, y'all's platform on social media was one of the first that we started watching, and just inspired us so much. But I knew if I was going to get him on the road, I had to find some work because he loves to work, and we needed income. We weren't like retiring in a wealthy state. We were retiring and wanting to do something different to earn income, and have a lifestyle change.
So she finds this beet harvest in Sandusky, Michigan, and I said, "Sure, let's do it. How much can we make?" And and all that goes. And plus, we get to see the great state of Michigan, and just beautiful, beautiful time of year. We were there in the fall, and just really enjoyed it.
So that was our first experience. We haven't work camped per se at a campground. We've just this is our second gig, as I call it, where we're working and traveling, and that's with Southern Cross. But yes, the beet harvest was our first one, and we laugh and I say it's a one and done. He would go back. But we met some great people.
Yes.
It had pros and cons, as every job does.
Gina got a little more dirty than she liked to be at the beet harvest, and but she was a trooper, and it got cold and it got muddy, and but she showed up every day. Well, 29 days straight, and so.
I've worked the beet harvest as a truck driver, but not as one of the beet harvest crew. So we're very familiar with the beet harvest.
But that's exactly why we work the beet harvest with him driving a truck, because of your exact reason. I told him, I'm like, I don't want to be dirty.
How long were you married before you bought the fifth wheel and did full-time RV life?
7 years.
7 years. We just bought the fifth wheel last summer.
So you have a good marital base to go on in such a tiny space.
Well, we think so. Most of the time, it does get challenging. We had a younger couple just sign on about a month ago to Southern Cross, and they live in their fifth wheel, and also, and my first comment was, "Well, I hope you have a good marriage," and they said yes. They said yes, we do.
We were kind of referring to working together 24/7, working and living. That's a whole nother dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've gotten to a really good place of, we came to it very quickly, realizing that when we get home from work in the evenings, having our own separate spaces, not that we don't love each other at all, because we do. We love each other so much and we love to spend time together. But when you've worked all day together, to have your own separate space in the RV to just unwind by yourself is really, really important for your relationship.
Yes.
So to kind of segue into Southern Cross, you mentioned Southern Cross. Let's talk a little bit more about that. That's a really important part of this whole podcast. We know a lot about Southern Cross because we've done a lot of research on it, but a lot of our viewers are going to love to know more about it. It sounds like an awesome way to make an income on the road. So go ahead and tell us what you can about Southern Cross.
As far as, we showed up in Pueblo, March of this year.
We're called Travelers,
mm-hmm.
and that's the program. And we needed to be trained. And so training is about 3 weeks.
And started our training, mm-hmm. and just with the equipment, with the expectations, training with driving. We were trained in the classroom, and we were taken out in the field, and we got to drive around with the teacher, and so it's pretty thorough, mm-hmm. and they really go over a lot of information, and stuff that sometimes doesn't come up. Most of the time doesn't come up. And so when it does come up, there's a boss in the field that we can text or call, mm-hmm. and we shoot him a quick question and he answers it. And so it's really a good system of knowing how to keep the public safe from harm and for life and property, they say in the training. And so it really is a good program.
And just some background, because I just realized people may not know what we're talking about. Southern Cross, they're based in Atlanta, Georgia, over 75-year-old company. And we are contracted by gas companies throughout the United States to walk and gas lines.
Main lines, service lines. Service line connects the meter at the house to the main line out in the street. And so we look down at a map and we walk on top of all these underground lines just to do the investigation, the survey they call it, and make sure nothing's coming out of the ground. Of course, the meter at the house, we have a wand about 5 feet, 4.5 feet long, and it smells. I tell the customer, we're here to smell your gas meter for 20 seconds. And is that okay? And most people are good with that. They understand the big picture. There's some that don't, and that's the world we live in.
And it's a walking survey. They do these every 3 years. And so we started down in Pueblo area, then we moved to like Rye, Colorado, Divide, Buena Vista, Breckenridge. So basically we've moved our rig, and we're at each spot about maybe 3 weeks,
A month,
4 weeks.
I'd say a month, yeah.
We try to find a spot that we can get a month stay, and
the spot needs to be close enough to work that our commute isn't more than an hour, hopefully not more than 45 minutes, even though the company does pay mileage every day. We record mileage every day, and it's paid out every 2 weeks. And they also pay us mileage when we move our fifth wheel camper from one spot to the next. And so,
Do they pay for the campground?
with the per diem, we get $300 a week per diem each. And so that helps with the campground, all the things. And then the pay is, I think it's starting at $19 an hour now. It's gone up since we started, so that's their base pay now is $19 an hour to start.
That's a great hourly wage for work campers. And what about benefits? Do they offer benefits?
They have, because you're a full-time employee, you're not a contract labor. They have medical benefits, 401k program, paid holidays after 60 days,
paid time off,
and we accrue time PTO. We get paid twice a month.
You got to provide walking boots, of course. You got to have a car. Like I said earlier, you're paid bi-weekly. In good weather and bad weather is what we're reading off of the sheet. However, the instrument, the tools that we use can't get very wet or they're ruined, and they need kind of a major overhaul. So we're real careful about where we put the end of that wand so it doesn't vacuum moisture into the Irwin. The Irwin is what we call the device that is hooked to my hip, and it records the amount of gas coming in.
Yeah, thankfully we don't have to work in rain or snow.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So what does a typical day look like as far as when you get up and go to work? So do you pick the where you want to go that day, or how does that work?
We're given maps of an area, and the map is on our laptop, and it's
1 mile by 2 miles.
It's like a GPS, and it follows you where you go, and so it's real easy to figure out where you're at, where you need to be by this this app.
It's called a lemur. Lemur map
with the GPS map. So anyway, we're given a map of an area, and then we together figure out, okay, where do you want to start on this map? We look for loops, like neighborhoods where we can, go around the loop, park our car and go around the loop, that type of thing. Sometimes there's a long main line that it makes more sense for me to drop him off at one end and pick him up at the other end. And so, but yeah, we get to decide once we're given our map how we want to work it. And
And when she says we get to decide, she really gets to decide. She's the map lady, and I'm just gonna, we've talked about this just because of the conflict that happens. Oh, I think we should do this, and oh, I think we should do this, and we've decided there's probably 50 to 100 good ways to do this map. Honey, you just decide how we're going to do it, and you guys are laughing, and there's that.
yeah, we did a marriage book one time that talked about blue glasses versus pink glasses. And we definitely see things so differently at this job. And so it's been an experience.
That is so true. And I always tell him, okay, we're getting to the point where it's German and Russian. You're speaking one, I'm speaking the other, and this is not working. We need to come to a place of understanding and where we're back to speaking one language.
Correct.
Exactly.
So what do you love about working for Southern Cross?
Um,
I'm going to go first.
Okay, you go first.
Because I love it more. I love it more than she does. I love to walk, and I want to set a personal record about every day, and we can't do that walking together. And so it's compromise, of course, but I love to walk. I love the climate in Colorado.
Yeah.
But of course, the mountains are, there's nothing like it, as you guys probably know. And so.
And, you can go anywhere. Once you're trained, they'll give you options of other places in the United States that you could pick. We met a couple. They're up in Montana, so they're up there doing that project. There's a couple there's quite a few in Texas and over on the Carolinas and just different places. And so this has been our first project with Southern Cross, and it's been wonderful. The other thing is we are kind of our own boss. Like we have we have a supervisor, and then we have a local like assistant supervisor that if we needed something, he'd be there right then and there. So we don't take advantage of being our own boss, so to speak. Basically, we just don't have someone right over us. Okay, go here now, dictating that. And so that's been nice.
Yeah.
If you're like us, you might be dreaming about full-time RV life, but feeling like it could never happen for you. If you'd like to receive our 3 secrets to becoming a full-time RVer ASAP, go to whynotwonder.com/secrets and enter your email address, and we will send it right to your inbox.
So let me ask you, do you ever run into issues? Do you have people that don't want you on their property? Do you have issues with dogs, or how do you deal with those things?
In our training, they tell us that dogs are probably the most critical thing about the job. Mm-hmm. And they give us dog spray, dog horn, that we carry, and we can, blow that horn, and it's really loud. And so they just cautious us about dogs. Mm-hmm. As far as people, well, and here in Colorado, we also carry bear spray. Mm-hmm. And because there's bear, and we haven't ran into one, but thankfully.
there's elk and there's moose, and they tell us that elk is friendly, and the moose may not be friendly, and so we're watching. Well, she's watching more than I'm watching for the wildlife.
Yeah. And then as far as people, the customers, we've probably had, I don't know how many customers we've ran into, but we have probably had maybe 4 irate customers. But it's interesting that we've also met some wonderful customers.
Wonderful people.
And typically you probably don't talk to your customers as much as we do.
That statement was kind of directed at me. I kind of like to meet people. I mean, this interview right now, I'm enjoying the visual feedback, some questions from you guys. And so I like to go up to the house and knock on the door, even when the meter is right there in front of the house. And she says, let's just get in, get out, honey. Let's do our job. And I said, well, I probably should knock, sweetheart, or whatever. And And there've been a couple of times where somebody comes out and says, what are you doing on our properties if we didn't knock? There's been a couple of times where we did let them know, and they kind of give us a look like, why are you asking me? Just do it and leave. And so there's a balance of that. And so that's been a plus. Met some good people here in Colorado. And like Gina said, love to run into somebody that we can benefit more than just smelling their gas meter, and we offer prayer, and most of the time it's well received. I don't think we've been turned down.
Yeah, they've just been some special circumstances.
Right.
One lady came out in her bathrobe and she said, I just had surgery, and people are lonely, I think, also.
Yeah.
And so
So they'll talk to you.
Yeah.
They'll talk to you. Yeah.
Well, that was one of the first posts that I showed Matt of you guys, was when Gina posted that you, Calvin, prayed with someone. And I took it to Matt and I just said, we've got to have these guys on our podcast, because it's just, that's our heart. That's so our heart, is to be able to minister to people beyond what you're there for. So it's just really cool. You guys are really neat people.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
One of the things that I find challenging about this lifestyle and this job is that it can be lonely as far as your community. We try to find a local church wherever we're parked for that period of time, but it's not like we get involved at all. We just pretty much go on a Sunday morning. And I never thought I was much of an extrovert, as much as Calvin is, but I think I've probably struggled with loneliness probably more than he has with this lifestyle.
What is your least favorite part about working for Southern Cross? And this doesn't even have to be negative, just if you had to rank it, what's the least favorite thing?
I would say finding your RV spot, because we're in peak season currently, and I'm just talking about the Colorado project because that's all we know. But they're booked up.
Yeah, that would be challenging. Have you run into having to go to like plan B, C, D?
I don't think so. We're planners. And
we're both very good planners, I think.
We've kind of got ahead of it, whereas we've had some teammates, something comes up at the last minute, thankfully for them. But we try to get ahead of it. And I think that's just been an adjustment overall, living the RV lifestyle for me, is where am I going to live next month?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So how far in advance do they tell you where you're going?
Sometimes not very far in advance, because a lot of it depends on the numbers of the project. You can make future predictions on past performance, for the most part, but it doesn't always hold true. You know how many meters are on a map or in a county, and you know about how many meters your team can do every day. And so our project leader does planning as best he can, but it's real hard to pinpoint it. One of the things that I wrote down as far as the number one tip for looking for work camping, I wrote down communication. We might do that to a fault. I call it over communicating, because I really don't want wires to be crossed that are incorrect. Miscommunication is, I know it's probably in every church and family and business on the planet, but if you work a little bit harder, you can cut some of that out. And so we probably bother our boss a little bit as far as the next RV spot. When are we going to be done with this project kind of conversations?
And probably too, because we're such newbies at the RV lifestyle.
Yeah, well, planning is important, especially if you have that as a value for you. Some people can find out 2 days before where they're going and they're cool with it. Yeah, that's totally you. And me, I'm like, have you thought about, a couple months from now? He's like, that's not even a thought in my mind. Not even a thought in my mind.
I'll think about that when it comes.
Gina's a much better planner than I am. And the two of you come together and do it so much better than alone. So much better than alone.
The most challenging thing that's happened since we've been on the road, in Michigan, we had our truck broke down and we had to get a new engine. And it took a month. And thankfully, we everything kind of was laid out for us. We were able to get to our place, have our rig towed to our work camping spot with the beet harvest. But that was very challenging. Just wondering, because it kept saying, okay, we ordered the wrong engine, or we can't find this engine, and it was just a constant battle with that part. And so really tested my faith. I was just like, we are so far away from Oklahoma. Just to give you an idea, we picked our truck up the day before we had to be out of the campground from the beet harvest, and we were the last ones still at the campground. Mm-hmm. They had turned out the lights. Mm-hmm. Like, it was just like at the very last minute, so to speak. And I remember telling Calvin, I mean, that's just how the Lord works sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's just like, just right at the last minute, it just all comes together, and you're like, oh, wow. But that was probably our most challenging thing since doing the RV lifestyle full time.
Yeah.
So what has surprised you the most about work camping in general?
I would say for me, easily connecting with my coworkers, like at the beet harvest. I mean, we were all so different, and it was easy because we're there for that one purpose, the job. So it was easy to connect with them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been surprising and enjoyable for me.
I think probably the biggest challenge might be for me is maybe on a personal level. You work with your spouse and you live with your spouse, and you don't have yet figured out that you need separate hobbies, or you can't quite figure out how to do it. You might know you need separate hobbies or separate interests, but how do you pull that off? I love shopping together. I kind of enjoy everything that we do together, including work, except at work, I kind of want to do things my way, and it's hard for me to say to myself, just we'll just do it her way. But when I say that to myself, I want to say we'll just do it her way again. I want to put that word again at the end. And so one of the most challenging things I think on this adventure, it's real hard for me to be the man I think I should be, or think I'm called to be, with my words and with my thoughts about this person that is the most important person on the planet in my eyes, and I'm supposed to love her in a certain way that I'm called to love, and yet I'm also so quickly irritated at her. And how do I pull that off?
Well, it's really cool to hear that perspective. When you're living in a sticks and bricks, it's much easier to not have to focus on everything you just talked about. When you're living in a small space like an RV, when you're working together, when you're recreationing together, living life so closely together, I think what you're describing really surfaces much quicker, much easier. So that's really cool to hear your perspective on all that.
Yeah, some of our biggest, I wouldn't say fights, but irritations have come from working differently. We are both very hard workers, very good workers, have very good work ethic. But when we were put on one of our work camping jobs in Michigan, it was the first time I was on outdoor hospitality with him. And it was the first time I'm riding around in a golf cart with him, and I'm like, I'm going to lose my mind. Why is he doing that? Why is he doing it this way? Why is he talking like this to this person? This isn't my husband. Who is this person? Like, it was just this whole, like, I don't think I like working with you. Oh no. This is scary. So it's so cool to hear you guys say the same thing. It helps you know that you're not alone and that it's a huge adjustment to work together.
Yeah, we're gonna let her do it her way again. You know, so we totally understand where you're coming from. Totally understand.
We were at Woodland Park for, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, and we like to walk. It's our job, but we also walk in our off time, and so it's kind of crazy. But we're walking around Woodland Park, and we're walking down this sidewalk, and I see this tandem bicycle, but it's not one in front of the other. It's the seats were beside each other, connected. They both had steering wheels. There's four wheels in this tandem bicycle, but it's like, honey, this is it. This is our life right now. We both have steering wheels. We both have pedals, and we better go the same way or this bike is going to break.
Yeah, that's really a cool imagery because you're on this journey together. You're on the bike together. And sometimes if somebody's trying to steer a different way, you're pulling that person along.
And maybe it's the wrong way to do marriage is that bicycle. In front and back would be maybe the best way to do marriage. Just take turns driving. You guys take turns running left or right, and don't both of you grab the steering wheel at the same time.
What is your number one tip for somebody looking to get into work camping?
I would say research. Find like-minded people, on the YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram. Watch their videos and join some groups on Facebook. There's groups on Facebook. I remember going through there and just looking at negative and positive comments about different things, even about Southern Cross, and just listening to your discernment about and asking lots of questions. I mean,
So, what do you love about full time RV life?
Um, as I've said before, it's just good practice to work on the most important relationship that you have on this planet, and that's I think what I love about it. It forces you, whether you like it or not, to work on it today. I've heard it said in the past, if you're not working on your marriage every day, you're working on your divorce. And so we try to be pretty intentional.
I I wrote down something, but something that comes to mind that I love about this lifestyle is the simplicity and the smallness. Like I really have enjoyed living tiny. We had a big house once, and there was room for everybody. I mean, it was ideal, but it was huge. It was expensive, and it was a little bit stressful. And so, I think that's what I've enjoyed most is tiny living.
What's your least favorite part about full time RV life?
I'm going to jump with that and say tiny living. Because I'm kind of sentimental, and she's always, here's this phrase that I've heard probably 100 times or more, no exaggeration. We got to lighten the load, sweetheart. And she's wanting to, sell everything, not everything, but it feels like everything in my heart. But anyway, downsizing to do this was really a hard thing for me to do. But I will say Gina has learned and has acclimated to the lifestyle. Can I say it, honey?
No.
I can't say it.
No. I don't know what you're going to say, but no. No.
No. Okay. I'll tell you later, maybe through the phone call or something.
Anyway.
So, what are your top 3 places you've traveled so far?
Manchester, Michigan holds a sweet spot in our heart just because we were broke down there. But
Oh,
it's so pretty. We were kind of stranded there when our truck broke down.
For me, the place that jumps out is probably Rye, Colorado. We just were amazed of the beauty, and probably Woodland Park.
Yeah.
yeah. So, where can people find you on social media?
AndrewsRVAdventures. We're on Instagram. On Facebook, I believe it's Gina Andrews, just because I had been in real estate, and so it's probably more just mine. Calvin's not on social media, so yeah, Andrew's RV Adventures.
That's awesome. Matt's not on social media either. So you guys are the same in that way as well. We were supposed to be in Colorado this summer. So to be able to see you guys walking around and like you're out of breath and you're up in the mountains, you're like, oh, I just came from all the way down there. And I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. It's really, really, really fun to watch you guys. So I'm glad you share.
Thank you.
Yes. So, thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with us and to give so much good information to all of the listeners and viewers. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. This has been an honor, like I said, because remember a year ago watching your content and just getting inspired to do this.
Absolutely.
And so this is an honor, and just thank you so much for asking us.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening to the Work Camping with Why Not Wander podcast.
You can see today's show notes at whynotwander.com/podcast. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive regular updates from us, along with special discounts at whynotwander.com/updates.